Welcome to today's D-Dive, everyone. I'm really excited to get into this one because if you look back at the fashion archives from just a few years ago, you'll notice something pretty wild about how we used to get dressed.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost jarring to look at now.
Right, like
Oh,
the average statement necklace from that era, those
yeah.
heavy, chunky accessories that could weigh as much as like a small
The
grapefruit.
small grapefruit, yes, that is exactly what they felt like.
I mean, getting ready for a gala or honestly, even just a high stakes Tuesday at the office, it was an endurance sport. You were fastening these massive resin structures and these heavy chandelier earrings that, literally pulled your posture forward.
Yeah, they were physically exhausting.
Totally. But now that we are firmly in 2026, that era of loud, heavy adornment is just completely fading out. And the relief isn't just aesthetic, right? It is intensely physical. We have officially entered the era of minimalist jewelry. It's a shift that is much quieter, but I'd argue infinitely more powerful.
It is a really profound pivot. I mean, we spent a decade where jewelry was something you carried almost like a burden just to prove you were participating in a trend.
Right, like you had to show you were in the know.
Exactly. And the shift toward these dainty chains and microscopic studs, it represents a total rejection of that performative weight. You are no longer dressing for, the back row of a room. You're dressing for your own immediate tactile experience.
Which is exactly why we are dedicating today's deep dive to unpacking this massive trend. We're taking the stack of articles, the trend reports, and all the design analyses you've shared with us, and our mission is to decode what this actually means for you, the listener, in your everyday life.
There's a lot to get through.
There is. We're going to explore the underlying psychology driving this shift away from fast fashion, the actual structural engineering of the chains and studs you need to look for, the highly specific architecture of modern layering, and ultimately how a tiny sliver of silver or gold is completely redefining our concept of modern luxury.
And, do you understand the velocity of this trend? You really have to look at the economic and psychological exhaustion that preceded
The
it.
fatigue is real.
Oh, it's so real. For years, the fashion cycle operated on visual volume. Social media algorithms rewarded the biggest, the brightest, the most visually disruptive pieces you could possibly find.
Right, because that's what stops the scroll.
Exactly. But that cycle of constantly acquiring massive, trendy pieces that oxidized after, what, 3 wears, it created this massive hangover.
Yeah, people are just burnt out on it.
They really are. Consumers have actively pivoted toward quality, versatility, and sustainability. When you look at the market data today, a simple gold chain isn't just an accessory. It is, well, it's a remedy for decision fatigue.
I love that phrase, a remedy for decision fatigue. I think about it like upgrading your daily essentials. Like a massive statement piece is like hauling around an overstuffed piece of luggage.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right, because sure, you have something for every possible, highly specific scenario in that luggage, but you are sweating just trying to get through the door.
They're exhausted before you even arrive.
Exactly. Whereas minimalist jewelry is like refining your everyday carry down to like a perfectly engineered titanium wallet and your phone.
Yeah.
It is exactly what you need, entirely frictionless, and it makes moving through your actual daily life infinitely smoother.
And the materials in the reports really emphasize this. We're looking at a huge demand for pieces that can transition seamlessly from a corporate boardroom at 9 a.m. to a dimly lit restaurant at 9 p.m.
Without requiring a complete wardrobe change in the office bathroom.
Right, exactly. That seamless transition is the hallmark of this new value system.
Yep.
People are viewing their jewelry as long-term capital rather than disposable, seasonal content.
Because fast fashion relies on that planned obsolescence, right? Both materially and aesthetically.
Yes, you buy a chunky neon resin hoop and 6 months later, the cultural moment is past and the piece just feels ridiculous to wear.
It totally dates you.
It does. But minimalist pieces operate outside of that hyper-accelerated trend cycle. A clean line of sterling silver sitting at the collarbone is, fundamentally, trend immune.
Trend immune, I like that. And that immunity to trends forces us to look closer at the actual physical ingredients making up these collections. Because if you are stripping away the neon, the massive gemstones, the chaotic shapes, the remaining materials have to be completely flawless.
They have nowhere to hide.
Exactly. Which brings us to the anatomy of minimalism in 2026. Let's break down the chains first, based on the design analyses. The market is entirely dominated by four specific structures. We're talking cable chains, box chains, snake chains, and Figaro chains.
And they're primarily cast in gold, vermeil, and sterling silver.
Right. And can we talk about vermeil for a second?
We should, because the focus on vermeil and sterling silver is a brilliant intersection of accessibility and longevity.
Because solid 14 karat gold is a massive financial commitment.
It really is. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have cheap gold-plated brass, which degrades rapidly.
And turns your skin green in, like, a week.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Hmm.
Vermeil solves this by using a high-quality sterling silver base and bonding a thick, legally regulated layer of gold over it.
Ah, okay, so it's regulated.
It is. You get the molecular durability and the visual warmth of gold without the prohibitive price tag.
Mm.
And because the pieces are so delicate, the material costs are kept reasonable even with those higher-end metals.
That makes total sense, but honestly, it is the engineering of these specific chain shapes that really fascinates me. Like a snake chain, for example.
Oh, snake chains are beautiful.
They are, and the source material points out it isn't just a random string of metal, it's a continuous, highly flexible tube. The way it's manufactured creates this incredibly tight surface tension.
Right. It doesn't hang like a typical linked chain.
Exactly. It sits perfectly flat against the skin and mimics the fluid movement of liquid. It catches ambient light in this continuous, unbroken wave as you move.
And if you contrast that with a box chain, you see a completely different type of engineering at play.
How?
Well, box chains rely on geometric interlocking squares. So they provide a rigid, almost architectural microtexture.
So they don't do that liquid wave thing?
No, they don't reflect light in a fluid wave like the snake chain. They catch it on sharp, microscopic corners, creating a subtle glitter effect. I mean, these aren't just reduced versions of bigger necklaces. They are meticulously engineered to interact with light and human anatomy in very specific ways.
They act as the ultimate supporting cast. And, the same logic applies to the tiny studs that are dominating earscapes right now.
The earscapes are everywhere.
Everywhere. We are talking about diamond points, pearl droplets, simple gold spheres, tiny hearts, and stark geometric shapes. When you strip away the massive hoops or those heavy fringe earrings, you eliminate all the friction.
Yes, the physical ease of it.
You never have to worry about your jewelry snagging on a sweater collar or getting tangled in your hair. A tiny gold sphere just acts as a point of light resting on the lobe, drawing the eye upward to highlight your face rather than dragging the eye down to the jewelry itself.
That right there is the essence of functional minimalism. A well-designed stud earring operates purely on geometry and light refraction. It doesn't disrupt the silhouette of the jawline, it simply illuminates it.
It's a subtle enhancement.
Exactly. And when design is this pared back, its universality just skyrockets. Think about it. A microscopic diamond stud works with a shaved head, a massive blowout, a structured blazer, or just a vintage t-shirt. It adapts entirely to the context it is placed in.
Okay, I hear you, but let me play devil's advocate and challenge this whole premise for a second.
Let's do.
Because when I look at a high-end brand selling a paper-thin gold chain or a microscopic pair of gold ball studs for a premium price, a skeptical part of me wonders, is minimalism just the fashion industry's brilliant excuse to sell us drastically less metal at a higher markup?
That's a fair question.
Right. And if the pieces are so tiny, so universal, and so undisruptive, doesn't that risk being completely boring? How do you actually express your unique personality when you are wearing the exact same 2mm gold chain as everyone else? Are we just paying a premium to look invisible?
That is a phenomenal pushback. And honestly, it strikes at the very heart of how this trend is actually executed in the real world.
Okay, tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, the personality and the visual intrigue in minimalist jewelry, it doesn't come from the isolation of a single piece.
Right.
If you wear just one microscopic chain, yes, the effect is extremely understated, perhaps even invisible to a casual observer.
Right, which feels like a waste.
But the true art form, and the reason this aesthetic is so deeply personal, is the architecture of layering.
Ah, okay, so it's less about the individual brick and entirely about how you stack them.
Exactly. The trend reports we're looking at spend a lot of time on this concept of building an earscape or a layered neckline. It's stacking multiple thin necklaces of varying lengths, layering different textural bracelets, or wearing asymmetrical stacked gold rings.
So you aren't relying on one loud piece to do the talking.
No, you are building a customized silhouette. Think of it like architectural scaffolding. You are building texture and depth using very fine lines.
Okay, paint a picture for me. How does that look in practice?
Sure. So, a single thin cable chain sitting high on the collarbone establishes the foundation. Then, a heavier snake chain sitting an inch below it adds structural tension. And maybe a slightly longer, delicate chain with a minimal geometric pendant anchors the entire composition.
Wow, okay, so it's very intentional.
Highly intentional. You're creating a dynamic, personalized matrix of metals that moves with you. The pieces rely on the visual tension between each other to create the statement.
And the most fascinating part of this architectural approach to me is how it has completely shattered the old rigid rules regarding visual temperature.
Oh, the mixing metals debate.
Yes, mixing metals used to be considered a fundamental error, like a massive fashion faux pas. You were either a gold person or a silver person.
Never both.
Never both. But now, integrating the cool, icy tones of sterling silver with the warm, rich tones of gold is the defining mark of someone who actually understands modern styling. I kind of view it like culinary fusion.
Culinary fusion. I like where this is going.
Yeah, like combining contrasting ingredients, say a gold necklace with silver studs or silver chains with gold rings. It actually elevates the whole dish, right? But only if it's balanced with intention.
That's a perfect analogy. And breaking that old binary rule is only successful because the lines of minimalist jewelry are so fine.
Because if they were big, it would be a mess.
It would be a disaster. If you tried to mix a massive, chunky gold collar with enormous silver cuff bracelets, the visual weight would clash violently. It would look chaotic.
Yeah, that's giving me a headache just picturing it.
Right. But when you're dealing with a 1 mm chain, the metals act as subtle, contrasting elements rather than competing monoliths. It is an exercise in balancing visual temperature.
A cool silver chain intertwined with a warm gold chain?
Exactly. It creates a vibration, a sense of deliberate friction that prevents the minimalist aesthetic from feeling flat or sterile.
It is entirely about intentional contrast.
Yeah.
And that contrast requires a very specific canvas to work, doesn't it? You can't build this delicate architecture over a chaotic background.
No, the clothing is crucial here.
This is where the integration with clothing becomes vital. The source material notes that the minimalist jewelry trend is heavily paired with clean, neutral clothing tones. We're talking beiges, crisp whites, stark blacks, creams, nude, and earth tones.
Because the clothing acts as the negative space. The clothing is the gallery wall, the jewelry is the art.
Oh, that's good.
If the gallery wall is covered in loud patterned wallpaper, a delicate sketch gets completely lost. Brands have recognized that they can't just sell the necklace in a vacuum. They have to sell the entire structural aesthetic.
Right. They're selling the whole vibe.
Exactly. You need the crisp structure of an oversized neutral blazer or the clean drape of a silk slip dress to provide the architectural frame.